Middle-class families could be staring down the barrel of an effective tax rate of up to 96% next year. That's thanks to a crossover of two child welfare systems. A mix between the income levels at which universal credit and child benefits are withdrawn could result in a sharp increase for the numbers of families hit. Yes, if you're anything like me, initially this report went slightly over my head, but no worries, because economics editor and indeed expert, easy for me to say, Vicky Pryce is joining me now to discuss this. Vicky, there we go, we got it out in the end. Vicky, what does this really mean? The headline seems absolutely shocking here. Middle-class families at risk of 96% tax rate. Surely that can't be true.
Well, I'm afraid it can. And the question, of course, is how many families find themselves paying quite so much. But according to the Resolution Foundation, something like 3 million families are likely to be paying or having an effective tax rate of over 60%, possibly 69%. And if you add various other items, then that percentage of the effective tax rate increases even further. And that's the real worrying thing. So it's a large number that pay still a very high effective tax rate, not necessarily the 96%. And that is because, exactly as you said at the beginning, it is the fact that particularly when you reach the 50,000 plus a little bit threshold, when you start paying higher income tax rate, and you have also the child benefit being gradually reduced as a result, because that's also the threshold there, plus a number of people get universal tax benefits even at that high supposedly income level, because they have other expenses, very big issues about children, big issues about housing. It's then that this starts becoming a really important one. So it's not worth it sometimes.
But it's not their overall income, right? So it's not, let's say someone's on £50,270 a year, which is apparently here where the top rate kicks in, one of the top rates kicks in. And some people would say that they shouldn't be receiving child welfare benefits or universal credit anyway on that kind of money.
Well, you could, but of course we do know full well that childcare costs are very, very significant for everyone. I mean, women trying to get back to work, for example, but also in a number of cases you have, quite a lot of children. Yes, it is true that benefits now are restricted to just the first two children, but you do actually need the type of support to also keep you in, the type of housing which is necessary for your family. So you can still claim in exceptional circumstances. So we're not saying that everyone is affected in the same way, but what has been happening over the last few years, and of course is now being extended to 2028 by the Chancellor, is that all those personal allowances, you can think whatever you like about whether giving any child support makes sense or not. But if you do, and you keep that allowance frozen, which has already been the case for the last 10 years, you can see that you can very, very easily get into a position where that is withdrawn very, very fast at a certain level, which means that every extra pound you get, you're keeping very, very little as a result of that. So not worth it, really.
So it's 96... I've just had an email in about this, and I want clarity on it myself anyway, actually. So it could be 96% of every pound in benefits you receive over a certain level. So the actual headline of middle-class families at risk of 96% tax rate is just on, it's 96% of a certain proportion of their income.
Yes, it is on the extra that you're receiving. So it's not the overall income, it's just the extra that you're getting. And that's where the effective rate.
Yeah, and that extra is based around, look, can I just say this? Having too many kids than you can actually afford without this help.
Possibly you have extra costs, housing costs. It may not have much to do with children, but it could be also about the factors. So you had been displaced some time ago and you still need some support. You may not have had the job for a while, or whatever it is, that still gives you the allowance of being able to get some cash from your local council, for example, and some support. It can happen. It doesn't happen very often. But remember, the really important issues have to do with the fact that over 50,000, what happens is that you start paying a lot more in terms of income tax. And of course, your national insurance contributions are affected on everything else, but up to a point. But mostly, you get over a certain point where your tax increases very significantly. And also remember that at a higher level, you start getting your personal allowance also being reduced. So we all have a personal allowance of over £12,000. We start paying tax at that. If you're nearing, say, 100,000, then what happens? You may consider that's too much and nobody worries about that. But nevertheless, what tends to happen then is you start losing your personal allowance until you get to 125,000, where not only do you lose it completely, but also, of course, you start paying the higher rate of income tax now. So there are all sorts of positions you find yourself in where you
Okay.
don't think that it is worth getting an extra pay rise.
OK, I can understand that. One very, very quick one, should be hopefully quite easy to fill in. Helen in Wales has just been on, said, can you please clarify whether or not this is all of the UK or just England and Wales? That's Helen's question to you.
It's a very good point. It should be England and Wales because, of course, Scotland has its own tax system.
Good stuff. Vicky, thank you very much, as ever. Vicky Pryce there, economist extraordinaire. Right, ladies and gentlemen.